everybody, what's up? My name is Coleman Akridge, and I'm a sophomore at Ballard High School, even though last year I was at Eastern as a freshman, which some of my group members know me from. So yesterday when I sat down to come up here and, to write down what I was going to say up here, I was brainstorming what I was going to say, and someone asked, what are the 5 most important things in your life? And I said that God, basketball, family, friends, and school were, even though I was definitely lying about school. I just don't bring it in the classroom like I should. That's crazy. The tough audience, I guess. Okay, it wasn't that funny. I'm sorry. I was hoping my group members would laugh, but they didn't help me out at all. Okay, it's too late now. Okay, but then I began to think that they surely can't all be of the same value. I was like, some words matter to you more than others, right? And I was like, that's definitely true. And for me, the one that matters most is God. Now, I'm not here to tell you why you are wrong, and I'm not here to call you out on sin, but I am here. Sorry, I lost where I was. I'm here to be very real with you in the fact that God is the answer to the chaos and problems in your life. It's not that chaos and problems will not exist with God. However, his direction and plan are what will guide you through a confusing world. So here's a little look into my life. I didn't type this very big. I was born to 2 Christian parents who raised me in the church, and they raised me well. I had a great childhood. My family was well off. I didn't really have much to worry about. Everything was taken care of. As a kid, I was very interested in God and everything about Christianity. I was always asking questions. I started to just learn a lot about God and stories of the Bible. This encouraged me to want to talk to my friends about it and share the gospel even when I was a little kid. Then I wanted to go to Camp Country Lake when I was 8, and then there I decided to get baptized because I had such an amazing time. However, my parents said, no, I can't get baptized there. And I was so mad, so mad. And they didn't want me to get baptized there because they wanted me to get baptized in front of the family. So when I came back in town, I got baptized a month later. This baptism was really when I decided to go all in. Even though my parents were Christian and I was raised in a Christian household, my baptism was still my choice. I wasn't forced. When I made this decision, this is when I decided to go all in for Jesus. I thought that baptism was somewhat of a milestone, when baptism really is just the starting point of your faith. At first, I thought that my life was going to instantly become perfect, which didn't happen. It frustrated me because I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, and I didn't realize that I wasn't going to change magically. I wanted to find my direction in life, which I was going to need through God's plan. After I was baptized and made a big step in my life, sports became more important to me than it had ever been before. And I was trying to find a sport that I wanted to play. It was always just natural for people in my family to play sports. I've always enjoyed sports, and I'm very competitive, so that kind of really made me want to play more and more. And I always felt like sports were essential to my life. I swam for Douglas Hills swim team starting when I was 6. I still swim for them. Go Hurricanes. And then I started to play soccer when I was around 8. And then I started playing basketball. Over the course of a couple years, I played all 3, and I liked all of them, but something drew me to basketball. My dad played basketball at Louisville, and pretty much my whole family are huge Louisville basketball fans. Yep. Go Cards. The funny thing, that was a W take though, I'm not gonna lie. The funny thing was, of all 3 sports, I was worse at basketball than the others. When I first started playing, I was pretty trash, but something made me want to keep playing even though I was just not good. Yeah, I'm gonna remember that. My dad thought that I was gonna be a soccer player because I was just naturally pretty good at soccer. I ended up quitting soccer for basketball, which was completely different than what I thought would happen. It was a huge shock to him because I was just, like I said, so bad at basketball. I started playing more and more, and then I started to really improve and get better. I kept playing all through middle school and ended up going to Eastern last year for my freshman year. I went because I thought there was going to be a lot of opportunity there for me to play and get better. It became a very tough year for me, and it was challenging and very lonely. I'm not very big, so size-wise, this was a huge disadvantage to me because I'm 5'10", guarding someone who's 6'7", and I'm getting dunked on, and it doesn't feel good. It was weird being at Eastern because pretty much all of my middle school friends were at private school. I was the only one who went to Eastern out of that middle school. I had to build friendships and relationships from scratch. I eventually found really solid friends in Sam Bird and Chris Cooper, sitting there in the back. We were all Christian athletes, so we had common ground, and we were wanting to find other Christians that could relate to us. So we started a lunch table for people who wanted to talk about God, and we just started eating together every day. We basically just read and talked about the Bible and tried to apply it to our lives. We were very real with each other. But one day there was a kid walking in the hall, and I recognized him from somewhere. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I went to groups that week, and I saw him. And I knew immediately that's where I'd seen him. So I said something to him. I asked him what his name was, and he told me it was Bonaire. I kept seeing him at school, and I was drawn to him for whatever reason. Something was pulling me towards him. So we invited him to start eating lunch with us, and he started to come. Throughout the year of groups and the table, he began to blossom into a passionate believer, and it just felt really good for all of us to be better and to help him grow. And then eventually this leads to Easter week. We were reading the book of Matthew at our lunch table, and we'd had been for the past couple weeks, just going through it a little bit by a little bit. And then this was kind of to align the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus with Easter. And so it was just a great week for us. And so I decided to invite them, all the guys from the table, over to watch The Passion of the Christ, which if you know that movie, you know it is about the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. Also, you may know that it's very emotional. And yes, I cried. I'm sorry. You can laugh. I did cry. We watched it, and Bonaire told me that night that he wanted to get baptized. We were so happy and proud of his decision. Then he turned and pointed at me and said, "I want you to baptize me." And that really hit me because all of my faith that I've had since I was a kid, all the questions I've been asking all my life had led to this, and I was so honored. He wanted to get baptized on Easter Sunday last year, so we went to the 11:15 service, and if you went, you would know that it was literally the most packed I've ever seen the church in my life. It was incredible. So when we got there, we got dressed and we got ready. We walked into the baptism tub. I think we were second or third in the order. And when we got out there, I leaned into him and I pointed up at the top and I was like, "Look at how many people are here." I kind of whispered to him. I'd never seen that many people in the church. It was a moment for reflection for both of us. We then stepped forward, and he put his hand over his nose, and I said some words to him. The interesting detail about that was I don't remember what I said. Sorry, I'm getting lost again. I do remember the feeling that words were just flowing from my mouth, though, and it was very profound. It was beautiful, too. It may sound crazy, but I wasn't really speaking. The Spirit was speaking, and that is one of the most intense moments that I've ever felt the Spirit be upon me in my life. And that whole event felt like I was putting my foot in the door to heaven. I got to see what it really feels like to find your purpose, and I've never felt happier ever in my life. I've had some great basketball games. I've had some good tests on scores where people score bad and I make fun of them. But I'd never felt better ever in my life. I felt true happiness. If you were to ask me why I went to Eastern in the beginning of the year, I would have said it was for basketball. But now I know without a doubt that I was not just there for basketball. I was there for Bonaire and Sam and Chris and the rest of that lunch table. My situation at Eastern felt terrible during the basketball season, but now I realize that even though I felt that way, it didn't matter. God intended for me to be there. It was part of my journey. He intended for me and everyone at that table to meet. I had to put up with that year for that, and it was definitely worth it. I'm going to read a little verse real quick. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." And I wrote that in this little speech because I figured y'all need to really hear that it really doesn't matter what you think is going to happen, because God has the willpower to control everything. And I'm telling you, God is extremely great at blessing you with your life once you give it over to him. Out of everything in my life, I want God to be the most present and valued. I know that basketball will only be in my life for so long. Basketball will end, but God will never end. I've learned that I have to submit to God no matter what. Another verse, Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. This may be hard to hear, but in order for anybody in this room to truly find peace, you must submit to God, and I promise it is worth it.